Yo, what is going on, Senpai Squad? Welcome back to a brand new video, and today we've got the review for episode 3 of The Promised Neverland. Now, I promise I will not be quite as critical as I was last week, literally nitpicking at the slightest little thing like I did last week, but that does not mean that this review is going to be all plain sailing either. I don't think it was perfect at all, but that's not to say that I didn't enjoy the hell out of this episode, because I did. I thought it was an incredible episode in terms of building up suspense and anticipation and really getting you on the edge of your seat. I can't be the only one who wanted to get a group of friends together and go and play tag in the woods. You can't tell me I was the only one, because I really wanted to get a group of friends, go out into the woods for hours and just play a huge game of tactical tag. It just got me inspired to do something like that. So that is definitely not a bad thing whatsoever. I thought Crone as well, Sister Crone, was handled magnificently in this episode. I thought they nailed the just creepiness about her. There's just genuine ugliness almost at how she's just so over the top and scary and creepy, and she genuinely gives you the creeps. So again, one of my favorite things about The Promised Neverland is how it really helps you put things into Emma and Ray and all that perspective by putting you in their same situation. You know, you get shocked whenever Mom realizes something. You were shocked by the demon's appearance and Connie's death. You're creeped out by Sister Crone. All of these things match what you, the watcher, are feeling as the same as Emma and Ray and Norman and all the other kids, all that type of stuff. I think it's fantastic. And something that I keep saying as well, I think since episode 1, and they keep going ahead with it, is that the Promised Neverland anime absolutely nails facial expressions. They always look absolutely stunning. Even the slightest little detail. For example, Sister Crone, I think it was when Emma was hiding behind the rock with the two children when they were playing tag. Emma was trying not to make a sound, and yet you could still see the genuine terror on her face. I thought it was absolutely fantastic. The soundtrack, again, you can't go wrong with the Promised Neverland soundtrack. It's one of the best soundtracks I've heard in an anime in absolutely freaking ages, without a shadow of a doubt. But I want to go into some of the more details regarding Sister Crone, because oh wow, she's a character who I think it may be an unpopular opinion, I'm not too sure. I know there's definitely some people who don't like Sister Crone. Either I, for one, I'm a Sister Crone fan. I really liked what they did in this episode regarding kind of revealing a truce, a friendship, yet also a hint of betrayal and disloyalty between Mama Isabella and Crone, because obviously Crone has been brought in as an assistant and she looks up to Isabella, but she also wants to become a mom herself, and she originally wanted to do this just by working closely and being a good assistant to Isabella, so that Isabella would essentially put in a good word for Crone. However, Crone, it is revealed, has a change of plans when she realizes what's actually been going down in the Gracefield house, and she decides that the best way to do this is by capturing these kids herself and essentially ratting Isabella in and just snitching on her to get her fired and whatever happens after that, so that then she could become the mom, which I find is really interesting, because Isabella and Crone are working together, but Crone is also working against her. It's very, very weird, but it's very, very good at the same time. And this is my first little bit of a negative about this episode, and it kind of goes into not just this episode but a lot of the episodes, and that is, well, I say a lot of the episodes 2 and episode 3. Sister Crone's little opera session that she had with the doll, I really like the inclusion of the doll. I don't believe that was in the manga, not too sure, but basically one of my biggest problems, probably the biggest little nitpick I've got with the anime, is there's no inner monologues. There is literally no inner monologues. All the inner monologues within the manga are spoken out loud for some reason in the anime. And I don't understand why, because it doesn't make any sense. I can't see a reasoning for it at all, because the characters saying the lines anyway. So why did Cloverworks make the conscious decision to turn those lines from inner monologues to just normal lines spoken out loud? It's very odd. There was an instance like this right at the end of last episode where Crone was revealed, and Emma, Ray and Norman are stood no more than a couple foot away from Isabella and Crone, and they're literally speaking how about enemies, all this, and it's like, these are inner monologue type lines. You do not speak these out loud. What are you doing? So I got a bit of that, and then this brings me back into what I was saying about Crone with the doll and her little opera session. She was literally singing, screaming, shouting what her goals are at the top of her lungs within the house, and it's like, I'm pretty sure this is supposed to be an inner monologue, not some sort of X Factor audition. So it's a very weird one, because like I said, they're recording the lines, they've put the lines in. What made them decide to not have them as inner monologues? It's very odd. It's very odd. There was another case of it again with I believe where Emma was trying to find the tracking device in Carol when Gilda was around. Gilda, I don't know how you pronounce the name. And it's just little things like that where it's like, these seem like really easy fixes and really hard mistakes. It's like, this seems like a really difficult mistake to make, so I don't know how they've done it. But you know what? It does, as an anime only, I'm not saying I'm one, but if you're an anime only, I could imagine this sounds like a massive nitpick because the episode was still fantastic. I openly agree. It definitely is very good. However, it's slightly not the same. I don't know. It's very hard to explain it because, like I said, it is very good, but it's good in a different way to the manga. I think that's probably the best way to say it. I do personally think the manga is better, which is a huge contradiction when I said episode 1 was miles better than the manga, but you know what? I made a mistake saying that one. I jumped onto that a little bit too soon. There was another scene where Emma, Ray and Norman were talking, and the year 2015 was brought up. Now, I'm not going to go into a huge amount of detail about that because maybe it'll get brought up at some point in the future, I'm not too sure, but there was a bit skipped in this episode, quite an important bit which gave context to why Norman said the year 2015 out of all years, because as an anime only, I can imagine him saying technology like this from 2015, whatever he said, it must seem incredibly random, and it must be a kind of scene which you just kind of flick over and not really think too much about. But in the manga, that was actually quite a big deal. The year 2015 was quite a big deal. Now, obviously, I'm not going to dive into it too much because if they might bring it up again, the part they skipped later on, I'm not too sure. I said it was a big deal. It's not a huge deal. It's not like it's going to affect the story tenfold if they don't include it. But it just gives context to why Ray said that out of all things. So it's very, very odd, like I said. But nonetheless, did I think this episode was good? Yes, I thought it was better than episode 2. Not even close to episode 1. And that's not saying this episode is bad at all, because there's very few episodes of anime that come close to episode 1. That was a literal masterpiece, in my opinion. But episode 3 was definitely an improvement on episode 2. Both episodes were good. The anime overall is good. But I do have my problems. And I do recommend, after this season's finished, if you're an anime only, do yourself a favour and check out the manga, because you may think you're reading the same thing, but I promise you there'll be quite a few little things which will add a bit of context to what you've been watching, and you'll think, okay, that's interesting. So just want to pop that out there. If you're an anime only, once this season's finished, do yourself a favour and read this arc again in the manga, because there's a few things, like I said, which I skipped out on, which I think adds a bit of context, and overall I think makes it better. One other scene which I also thought was absolutely fantastic was the scene where Sister Crone kind of tried to subconsciously, secretly reveal her plan to Emma, as well as also flush Emma out, because she said, if you saw the harvest the other day, then know I'm on your side. Now, to any other one of the little kids who obviously didn't go to the gate on that day, those words would fly straight over their heads. But Emma instantly picked up on it. and it really builds up for some really interesting futures ahead, especially with the whole mention right at the end of the chapter, the episode even, of a potential traitor among the children. The real mind games, the real Death Note-esque parts of the Promised Neverland are really going to be on the horizon pretty soon. It's going to be great, you know, the whole traitor business, Sister Crone trying to flush out the children, but also trying to get on the children's side, it seems. It's all very interesting. But guys, thank you so much for watching. Leave a like on the video if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're not already to become a member of the Senpai Squad. And as always, leave your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below. But I'll see you guys in another video. Until then, peace.